Alright, welcome back to the Conquest Corner. On this particular episode, we are going to try to finish up the different armies for the March update. So, I went through 4 of them in the previous video. You can find, what did I do? Weaver Courts, which is super fast. Euroni, which actually missed one thing, and someone pointed it out, that the Euroni heal is now only 3 wounds, not 4. I just don't know why I noticed that at the time, which means units of, or stands of Kappa, Oni, and Kami can't be healed back, because they're 7 wounds, and you used to be able to heal 4, heal enough, now you can't. So, they said they want the Mahatsu as a support piece, and now it supports less. So, I don't know. But that's a very big change. Went through those, went through 100 Kingdoms, and Spires. And Old Dominion was in its own separate video, because they're the ones who got a very, very big change. So, in this video, the plan is to try to do the rest of them. You'll see by the picture and all, or the timestamps, if I do get through everything. Most of the people are reasonably short, although I'm going to have to pause when I get the spells and look at them, because like Old Dominion spells greatly change. Makes sense that we're doing it all. But I missed that Mahatsu change for the one healing spell, because like the rest of the spells wanted a little bit of difference. Most were the same. 100 Kingdoms were the same. So mostly they were just updating the look of spells, and then apparently some minor tweaks, and that particular one that I missed. Keep in mind, if you want to pick up anything for Conquest, we do have a discount code in the show notes below. Saves you 10%, helps us out as well. But let's get to a bit of this. Now, I will admit some of these armies I just don't know as well. So there might be some more hot takes, or hotter takes than I was saying before. Oh, my dog's back there. I'm sorry, there's digging. So let's get to this and see what we got. So we're taking a look at city-states first. Right before I get into it, one thing I do want to mention. I said this in the other video. I want to say this here, or at least I did in the Old Dominion video. I try to be reasonably positive about things. If I do think there's a problem, if I think a change is bad, I will absolutely call it out. But I try not to be sky is falling, doom and gloom type of person. And also, I don't look at this from the absolute top tier, gonna go to Heos competitive level. You know, I'm not saying don't play competitive, I absolutely do. I'm not saying they shouldn't try to balance for competitive as well. But if something just seems cool, but hey, maybe it's not quite enough, I'll call that out, but that's okay to me. I don't want it to be a case where I want to take, 4 of the same unit. If my viewpoint, and I share this in one of the other videos, I want to be able to say, hey, 1 unit is cool, 2 units is really good, or maybe even better, and beyond that, I really maybe don't want to do that. If that's where they're at, then I think balance is reasonably decent. Having said that, now let's get into city-states. So I said there's an internal balance problem for city-states, and they're going to just do some small changes for now until they make the big tweaks later. We know they tweaked the way they do their strategic stack and all, and we know there's going to be other changes. Right now, you're just seeing a lot of chariots and usually monsters as well. I'll be honest, I don't see a lot of city-states played. Because Steve plays them, but there's not a lot of other players in our area who do. Maybe it's because they do need some fixing up, but unfortunately, I don't have a whole lot of experience. So this will be much more on the overall of what I see rather than a deep dive into what this does for it. And also, like I said, they're going to get a big change anyway. So anything they do now, the hope is if you have city-states, it just makes it feel a little more fun for you while you're waiting for your redesign. And hopefully you like your redesign. All right, Hammer and Anvil changed. Hammer and Anvil was on the Ipecaros. It was his supremacy ability. What it did before, so I have all that stuff on the phone. Haven't updated the app. I don't know if they put it out yet, but I haven't updated it, so I could talk about it here. It used to be if you were friendly cavalry chariots, hitting people in the flanks and rear, you got more impact. You got some terrifying, and they couldn't score. They completely redid it. One, it can give them, if they're coming from the strategic stack, gives them shock. Great. And single infantry or cav regiment, notice it is removing from that the chariots. I know the names of the two, but couldn't remember off the top of my head the joining part. Sometimes that happens. You go through so many things talking about all this stuff, and then it's the simple words that throw you off. But notice they don't mention that anymore. So it can get a free out of combat reform action as its last action during the activation, and it can't change the number of ranks or files during that action. So you just get to change and move in the way that you want. So you can just rotate yourself essentially. Sort of like a fluid formation, pretty much, but it has to happen at the end. And you get that shock. It's a new design. They want you to kind of push maybe away from chariots a bit, because really taking tons of chariots, they've already reduced the amount of chariots that you could take. At one point you could take more per slot. They lowered that. So they don't want your list just to be pure chariots, which I agree with. I think that's a good idea, to not just have that be the thing that you're going to do. Unfortunately, if you're playing city-states, unless the rest of this is much better, it is harming, potentially, an army option that you had. Army of Lions. So, Supremacy. Let's take a look. Oh, it's just the last line. All the rest of it's the same. So, you get the stuff about auxiliary stands. Hey, and once per game, when you roll for priority, you reveal the top card command stack. If it's the Polemark, you can just choose to automatically win. But if there's two of them with the same ability, just cancel each other out. So if I'm playing city-state v city-state with Polemark Warlords, yes, if you do it that turn, just cancels it out. Eidolon went down by 10 points. That's fine. It probably needs more. But 10 points is better than nothing. Mechanist going up in priest value is big. With them, especially with him, you weren't actually getting your spells. In the past, I think he was even worse than that, if memory serves. So, what's Torque? Yeah, give it. Okay, now it gives Untouchable. It used to give some other rules, but a lot of the spells, you had some hard times getting some of them off. It used to be even less. So you would get almost nothing off. Going from, they went to 5, now up to 6 means you're actually going to get your spells. And it does have 4 spells. Charge distance, march value +5, supersedes phalanx. Automations get +1 clash, so has decent spells. So being able to get your spells off is always much better. Alright, Cazador's Helmet went down by 5 points. And like I said, just streamline and a small adjustment. Oh, it used to be that you lost Inspired, now it just essentially has Dread. That's sort of the big thing. And then you used to lose in duels Quicksilver Strike and Flurry on the opponent, and yes. So just instead of lose Inspired, just Dread. Which helps unless it would be, what, like always Inspired or something like that. Living Breastplate, cost reduced to 5 points from 20. Alright, let me take a look. What does this thing do? The character stand rerolls failed defense rolls when participating in dual actions. Yeah, 20 points is ridiculous. Who are you even wanting to put it on that really wants to duel, per se? Airstark, not really. Your Polemark, Flurry, but no Cleaver or anything like that. So, yeah, put it down to near nothing. You don't have that crazy attacking character, at least where it is right now, that you're probably going to duel with anyway. So I'm probably not dueling. I'm probably dueling if I'm forced. So if I'm broken and someone challenges me. Well, okay, at least make it cheap then for the thing. So maybe now on those characters, if I'm noticing, ooh, I'm playing against armies where this keeps coming up. Okay, then go ahead. 5 points, you could just throw that on something. But Ecodus, down by 10. Okay. And Atalantean Spear, down by 5. Cheaper items is nice, although if you were going to take it, saving 10 points, useful. Maybe you can throw it somewhere else. Maybe you can take that other upgrade we just talked about. But if you weren't going to take it before, I don't know if a 10-point lowering is really going to do it. You're going to get +1 to your clash and -1 to attacks and cleave 4. Oh, I've seen this thing before. You know what? For 10 less points, maybe you do take it, because now here's that upgrade that you take to make yourself actually want to fight. Where you're looking at, yeah, and Polemark could take 2 relics. So, hey, 10 points less. This going down to 5 means if you were before went to take this blade, now you could actually take the blade and the breastplate. So you're defensive, better defense, and your cleave 4 with a better clash, but 1 less attack. Yeah, that's actually a kind of cool combination. I like that. Is it super awesome and gonna alter your list and make you suddenly win all your games? No. But it's fun. And absolutely much more willing to take that. The Spear going down by 5 points probably could use a bit more. I think that probably should have been 10. That is a +1 attack and cleave. Again, at least with the 5, though, now you can take the breastplate and that on characters that can take 2. Can Airstrike take 2? No, Airstrike only takes 1, so if you're taking Pole Mark. So, I think that is it. Yeah. So, if you were taking him, at least now, if you want to take either of these 2 items, you can take that as a freebie without altering the points of your list. Phalangites drop by 10 points. Good. They could probably use a little bit more, but hey, a little bit changes at that time. Gima went down by 10, a little bit cheaper as well. Satari went down by 10. Oh, but they're going to lose a lot. So they're losing their impacts. They're losing fluid formation, which was huge, especially with if you get into someone's back arc, and now that being so much better, so much harder to do when you don't have a fluid formation. They get loose formation and flank, so you know exactly when they're coming in, or you can choose the exact moment they're coming in. Yeah, they still have their Vanguard, so they're still going to move really far. They lost, quite a while ago, they lost their weird come in from the flanks rule. Lost the regular. That's nice, but you're... Is it Pathfinders? Yeah, the regiment... That it doesn't get pushed back, and more attacks. Okay. I said, a big change that makes the units playable. I think it does. Losing the impacts is a little bit weird, but maybe that's not what you're using them for, or at least now that's definitely not what you're using them for. Floor formation, losing that, again, now you're not probably looking at side charges. You have the extra attack, you have loose formation, so you're probably going more up the middle, or at least straight forward at someone. So, more playable. I would try them out to see what you think, but you're probably changing, in my mind, you're changing greatly what you were thinking about doing with them. Sacred Band, 10 points less. Clockwork Hoplites went up in points. So Clockwork Hoplites are doing a little bit too good. How good are Clockwork Hoplites? Well, cleave 1 with some support. 4 attacks, but on 2. Flurry, which helps a lot. Doesn't get the battle orders, which is fine. Never get inspired. Don't have resolve. Well, inspired special rule. So, I don't tell me. I guess because of the flurry and the cleave and all of that, I'm not sure exactly what was doing so awesome about them. But if you're taking them, you took any of these other stuff, you have the points to spare. Wounds on Hapsis going up, great. You know, they could use the extra wound, either as units themselves, or if you're taking them as the extra stand in a regiment. War Chariots went up by 5, and War Chariots are now limit to max 5 regiments per army in organized play. Okay. Was it necessary? Sure. I will agree with that. And my hope is, if you play City States, you would say that as well. But the problem is, your other changes, at least from what we've seen so far, aren't making it where you're going to make up for that. You know, I think they had you they used to be able to take the 8, then they went down to 6, now they're to 5. If you're the person who was running above that, I don't know. You should never assume that you're going to be able to run that many of anything. That's too much. Limit to 5 is better for organized play. However, the rest of the army needs some other buffs and alterations to make it feel worthwhile. It's just not enough overall. And they said the syntax update on the spells. I'm going to check real fast. Yeah, took a quick look. All the spells are the same. I said they threw me off on the other ones because they said, oh, it's just, no real alteration. It's just the way they put it. And then one of them they altered. But this one, no. All right. If you're a City States player, okay. If you're a City States player, you're not unhappy with what has been altered. Other than probably chariots. And maybe because that was really what your army needed to make it work. So you're not unhappy with any of the changes, I don't think, overall. But it's just not enough. Now, this, like I said, this is essentially a stopgap. This is a way to give them a little bit of something while they're waiting for the rest of their changes. That living breastplate with some of the other upgrades going down, I think is a nice little way if you do want to make a dueling character. Although, dueling is always hit and miss because people can say no unless under certain conditions. Satori, I don't know. I think they've changed what they do, but I don't think it's necessarily bad. If you do play this army, do let me know what you think. I am curious. I would give this one a meh overall, but they kind of get a bit of a pass from me because we know they're going to get other updates, and they're just not. It's not the moment for that. And better than making lots of big changes now, and then when you do get your redesign, even crazier changes then. All right, next up is going to be the Wadrhun. So let's take a look at Wadrhun. Wadrhun are, of course, essentially orchestral riding dinosaurs, and as it says in the beginning, yeah, they wanted to alter some things because why would you just not take a bunch of dinosaurs? First of all, that's what I like about the army in general. But also, they performed better. You have, Thunder Riders, Apex Predators. Those are the things you saw. Occasionally, maybe very occasionally, depending on hunting packs, but Raptor Riders were a big thing. Quaddles at one point, like double Quaddles was super, super common. And starting to see some of the big boys. And we know one of the big boys is in the new starter set for them, the 2026 starter. So let's take a look at what they've done. All right, so Concentrated Assault. This was the Chieftain's Supremacy ability. It used to, for tribes units, essentially the tempo now affected all friendly tribes units, and tempo gave you Vanguard 3. Now it's Vanguard 4. I said this lets you grab an objective round 2. So I'm guessing that when they looked at, and that's actually true. So I'm just thinking about when you looked at how far the units moved, you're looking at what? 5s? Are most of them like a 5? Sorry. You have a couple 6s, but mostly 5. Vets are 5. Yeah, so you're looking at 5, double 10, 11. So you're looking at 14. But if the objective is, a bit further up, that 1 extra inch is what's actually getting you on it. So useful. Can't complain about anything like that. Okay, matriarch walks. So the first part is the same, no difference there. Should be more appealing. So let's see. Once this player's first activation, any subsequent entourage activations has been completed, immediately return to the draw command card step. You may then draw your next command card and immediately activate it. Oh, okay, that's a once per game thing. In addition, once per battle, once the first player and its entourage have been completed, you may then join and immediately activate it. This cannot entourage. Okay, so they removed the part about not being that the additional activation can't entourage to something else. They removed that, so now you can. So you could potentially have her go entourage into her unit, then have a different character go entourage into their unit. So, especially if you're looking at trying to get your different chants off, that could help a lot. Or just wanting different effects or getting spells, and then having the unit go. All right, a useful change. A step up for sure. I'm guessing you really weren't seeing a lot of her. I wasn't, at least for the last while. So Big Game Hunt, they marked how this is going to be different. So let me take a look. Oh, sorry, it's an entirely new supremacy. Okay, so I see. I was looking at it for the other one of exactly how it worked, but it used to be Thrill the Kill, so now it's the Big Game Hunt. Mark one enemy regiment as your prey at the end of the game's first supremacy phase. You can choose any enemy regiment, even that one's on the battlefield. Friendly regiment always count as unaffected inspired or take aim when performing Clash Royale actions against that enemy regiment. When the regiment is destroyed, you may immediately select another prey. Ooh, that is really good. Thrill the Kill on Predators least before used to give some Indomitable when you destroy someone. Sorry, looking for the other one. They said Winged Predator. Was he Thrill the Kill? Yeah, that... You get Indomitable when you kill someone. No, instead, now I'm going to pick someone. And I'm always at a +1 to my clashing or attacks when I'm going at them. And it always counts as that. So that even ignores some other issues people may give to you, or terrain and stuff like that. And when you get rid of them, they get to choose another one. That's great. Although they talked about maybe not wanting to help dinosaurs out quite as much, and the Winglord Predator, or Winged Predator, gets that. So, and yeah, it's any friendly regiment. Mounted Predators and Winged Predators have that. So, okay. This is a big glow up from what their warlord trait was before, I feel. However, if the concern was maybe we make some things more interesting than dinosaurs, this don't change that to me. What you're running before, maybe now you make the Predator as mounted or winged, and he's your warlord now with this ability. And for things like, your Thunder Riders or any of that kind of stuff, they absolutely love this. Because it doesn't lower that you have to be, speakers or anything like that. Everyone gets it. All right. Visions of Conquest. I said small syntax change. So nothing too much different there. Vision of War activated. So for this one, they added that you get Hardened 1. Friendly regiments gain Hardened 1. Same thing that 100 Kingdoms have under, Priory Commander, at least Crimson Tower Priory Commander. I don't know if the other one, I don't see the other one very, very often. But for his Visions of War, so this is for the Scion of War. Yeah, the first part was there, but hey, now you get Hardened 1. And I'll tell you, as someone who's went against plenty of horse lists, getting Hardened 1 on the correct turn, knowing supremacies and all of that, huge. I think that's actually very, very useful. Mounted Predator, gain Flurry, lost 6 inches of range, and a regiment gets Deadly Shot. As I said, it fits now more with the Raptor Riders. And volley characteristic went down, but invasion went up. So essentially, you look like a Raptor Rider now. Because if I pull up Raptor Riders, I think it's exactly the same. Yeah, you're sitting at the evade 2, you're sitting at the same volley, you're 12-inch range, and you're giving the whole unit Deadly Shot. So a nice bit there. Not giving it armor piercing, though, which Raptor Riders have. But gaining Flurry, which Raptor Riders have, I think that's a little bit of a miss. I would have liked to have seen, even if they needed to, that the Mounted Predator maybe even goes up, 5 points. Oh no, sorry, Mounted Predator has armor piercing. There we go. My apologies. Mounted Predator has it on its profile. I was looking at the other one's profile. So you actually do have that, but now your Deadly Shot goes to everyone. Okay. All right. So good. Sorry, I missed that at first. So you look like them. That's fine. You weren't going to really take the shot when that was probably the only one being allowed to shoot anyway. So getting Deadly Shot to everyone else, absolutely useful. Yeah, on 6s, they roll for 2 wounds because they don't have that naturally. Yeah, they don't have it naturally. They don't have anything that they get the aim shot through the champ, but not Deadly Shot. So if you didn't want, maybe a Raptor Rider, I still count that as a dino because I'm thinking it's a dinosaur with a person on it. They are now better if you're taking a Mounted Predator. And often I see, someone takes a Mounted Predator because the Mounted Predator, let's pull it up for ways. Yeah. It gives you Raptor Riders, and then you can take your Quaddles, your Apex, or even the Tauntor from if you want. But I usually see, Raptor Riders, then you can take the Quaddle or 2 Raptor Rider units for a double Apex. That kind of thing. Predator went down 10 points, and range went down a little bit. It's still not cheap, but for a reason. Range reduction due to general range cut. Yeah, the Predator didn't really need to lose much in terms of points because his warlord trait got so much better. You don't want him any cheaper than that. Sign of Conquest. You can take a Drum Beast as a mainstay. Drums will once again fill the battlefield or for the first time. Yeah, Tauntors I have seen a Drum Beast. You don't see that much, but hey, it's in the new starter. So I have no problem. Because someone brought this up when I talked about Shikigami. They said, they did the GW thing of, here's a unit that probably wasn't selling and they made it a lot better. I'm okay with that as long as you don't make it an auto-include. At the end of the day, this is still a company. They need to make money. If they don't make money, this game goes away. And I don't know, I'm not one of those people who play dead games from 20 years back. I know some people do that. I know some people, Blood Bowl's the thing, but I know some people, still play Battlefield Gothic and all that kind of stuff. But I'm not, I want my game to be alive and kicking. So if they want to change some things that make more allowances for model kits and all of that without making it, unfortunately, sometimes like the GW thing, of, oh, this is way too good now, you need a bunch of it. Shikigami are better. They have a place in the army. You can buy a set and be happy with it. You can do something with them. Hey, did you pick up that new starter? Hey, you can use your drum beast. Here's a great way to use them. Hey, and Zion of Conquest is the model that comes with it, I'm pretty sure. So, hey, now he's a mainstay. So maybe now you open up some other options. You can kind of switch around the way you do that. That's great. But at least for the moment, unless they do something later, do they? Drum Beast went down by 20 points, so nothing too crazy. So yeah, they gave you some new options, made them a little bit more appealing, but you're not going to suddenly see Drum Beasts everywhere, I don't think. So I like it. All right. That was the Conquest. Zion of Death. Lost 20 points. Gets a Priest 1. More evasion. No defense. But that's fine. And yeah, Cold Death, obviously. Big adjustment, they said. Death Cult. We've done some necessary changes to make it appealing and not overtuned. Zion shows it, and Cult artifacts were reworked. Okay, so we're going to see that in a moment. So, decent bit cheaper and more evasion. So, the character's better. Sign of War, 10 points cheaper. Hey, gain Priest. We notice that's sort of a thing they're doing, which is good for interference. Cult of War, that's fine. More evasion and more defense. So, just more survivable. Yeah, Zion of War should be actually more survivable. That model's crazed. Okay, and they removed the problematic part of Cult of War rule, which worked on Warband and often caused confusion. Oh yeah, so if it always follows Cult of War, can never follow another cult. Sure. What was the confusing thing they were talking about? Oh, it just mentions Cult of War. So was it what Cult of War did? Was that the problem? I thought all the cult things were the same. No, I think that was the same. So, all right, well, that's fine. Oh, okay. I looked it up. I checked. So the part they're talking about is that friendly brute regiments in the warband gain relentless blows. What part of that was confusing? I don't know what part of that would confuse people, but because it does say warband. So 10 points less gain priest, more defensive, but you lost some relentless blows in there. And for that one, so we're looking at what? Warbred? I guess maybe that was the thing. It was really only on them. So that's okay. Winglord Predator. Third profit action on the regiment without drawback or additional requirements felt unfair. Okay, so when we chant the battle cry, it gets to perform a free volley action on the Winglord Predator. What was he? So he just got what? An extra action? Was that what his chant was? No. What was he doing? Where's this thing that he could do that? In addition, there was also character stand, use all the relevant rules. I'm not seeing it. I gotta take a look. Mounted Hunters. They even said the rule there. My apologies, how to find it. Mounted Hunters used to be you get a free volley. Hey, now you have to actually chant the battle cry to get the free volley. Yeah, that's a fair change. That lowers Winglord Predators, and they were kind of like becoming a mainstay. So it's a small decrease. Keep in mind that you can chant now at 2. You've been able to for a bit, which means it's still not tough to get the chant. But at least you have to actually try for it. A little tiny bit. Beads of Death went down by 15 points. Big adjustment Death Cult. We have done some extra changes to make it appealing and not overtuned. Okay, so we're talking about the Beads of Death being one of the bigger changes. So let's actually pull that up so we can talk about what is actually different for Beads of Death here. Okay, it used to be Tenacious 1. And now it's a draw event. You can take 2 wounds, no morale, and then +1 to your march. So it looks like they're trying to make essentially Scion of Death, Cult of Death, and all of that to just be faster or more in your face. Yeah, they have Flurry, they have Unstoppable, all that. So you can choose to take a few wounds, 5 wound stance, so it's okay, and just get in there more. Okay. And you're changing it to the March characters till the end of its first action. So you are altering the March characteristic, not the March value, so you would get it on a charge. Death's Reach went down by 10 points. Great. Blood. So Warlord from Cult of Death. The regiment this character is currently attached to heals 1 wound for each stand it destroys during the class action, maximum of 5. Heals apply once morale tests have been resolved. So you get the morale part as well, because they are looking at stands that are destroyed. Okay. What did it do before? Because honestly, I haven't seen a lot of death. Is that a thing? I'm not even seeing that as a thing listed. Am I missing that? Oh, is it a mastery? Yeah, mastery, that's why. It used to be for every 2 stands. Now it's a wound for each stand. Oh, and it was for every 2 stands, you get extra evasion to max us 3. Well, we've already seen the up evasion on at least the character and all. Chosen of Death. Yeah, and they up the evasion there. So your evasion's already 3. So you're now set. So you're on evasion 3, then upping that, but now you have a heal. So if you destroy some stands, you get some healing. Honestly, that really helps Cult of Death a lot. They actually look really attractive now. I went against them once before, and I just shot them down. They just didn't get in. They now have that chance. Cure for Cult of Death. So what it used to do was untouchable. So reroll assistance on that. Both the regiment and the character this currently attached to ignores hits or wounds resulting from the effects of lethal demise or death and decay. A lot better. Rerolling 6s is nice. No one's going to argue that rerolling 6s is nice. But it is... you have this better evasion. You weren't necessarily going to be really using that. And for this, if you're really worried about what other people are doing, yeah, you're going to stop all the negatives that they put onto you. Especially lethal demise or aura death. I've went against, Dweghlists that run a lot of lethal demise. I've seen, now you have aura death being a big thing for Old Dominion, depending on what you run. Bigger than it was before. So they're making Cult of Death really interesting. And I think now you're going to, if you weren't seeing it before, I think now you're really going to probably start seeing it. Chosen Conquest. Split effects from the rule, from a single rule for clarity. There's a little bit of an issue there. Okay. That's fine. Just adjusted. It's a Cult of Death. Did go up 30 points, but you're going to evasion 3, so that's absolutely fine. 30 points kind of hurts, but you've saved some points in some other spots, so you can swing it. And Visage of Death. Okay. That was the Tenacious 2 in shooting, which is fine. And then they just split that a little bit. Okay. And get full auto strikes and all of that. Okay. So, Chosen of Death, Sign of Death, all of that, much more appealing. What they do, Slingers. Slingers went down. Slingers were too expensive? I don't think so, personally. Range went down, which is good. And they gained Long Shot. Okay. So they're... Oh, the Singing Bullets chant, they just changed the name of it. They were always effective range before when they got it. They just gave it the actual name of Long Shot. I don't know. I didn't think Slingers were having a problem, but maybe someone else. Let me know if you think otherwise. I don't think they're having a problem at all. Vets went down 10. Great. Not enough necessarily, but if you weren't going to take them before, I don't think 10 points has really changed your mind. But if you were taking them, you got a couple extra points to deal with. Chosen War went down by 20 points, and they get Fearless. Yeah, that's really fitting. Happy with that. Warbreak and Fury. Remember, Fury is the +1... Oh, since they lost Relentless Blows. Fury was the +1 attack on charges. Yes, I'm pretty sure that's what that was. Drumbeast went down by 20. Tauntor went down by 10. Quaddle. Yeah, same exact thing. That, hey, they get the Predator Shriek chant, and you get the free volley when you chant. Okay. Aberration went down by 10 points. Cool. And very short list of spells. I don't think any of the spells are actually different for them. Okay. If you're playing Wadrhun, I think you're happy with the changes. Do they get enough? If the goal was to make non-dinosaurs more appealing, I think did for the Colts to an extent. I don't know if it did enough for the others. I think Predator Warlord is big now. I think that might be something you really start to see, especially because they split up sorry, I had to take a look at names to make sure I read. Yeah, the Chieftains, if you're foot or not, for their abilities. Well, actually, no, so not for his. What was it? Because Thunder Chieftain, Thunderous Assault. Yeah, it made it only shot for speakers instead of for everyone, so they pulled that apart. So, okay, maybe now have a different choice. But I think Predator is a really appealing choice. I think you're probably still taking the Thunder Riders. You're still taking the Thunder Chieftain, though, so I don't know if you're swapping. Maybe some of these loss of points make you change your mind. I think you're happy with the changes, but I don't know if it accomplishes everything they want. More Predators you'll see. And I said, Scions, essentially, you'll probably see more. But the other units, Braves, Veterans, and all of that, I don't think they really did very much for the 10-point difference. That's not going to change your mind about that. Is it Chosen of War? Sure. Slingers, you were probably already taking Slingers, unless you're just running pure dinos. So now you get to spend less. So maybe now between that and a few of the other changes, you get a couple extra stands somewhere. Or even them, since they're only 45 points a stand. You're already saving 15. So, you take that 15. If you're taking, say, vets or something else, you probably got to stand now. So you're getting a little bit more. And Fury and the Warbred, I like more than Relentless Blows. Relentless Blows is nice if it triggers correctly. But if it doesn't, I've had my Bone Golems plenty of times just roll, and you just don't roll the ones, which means your rule does nothing for you. Hey, these guys want to charge. You get the charge, you get better. Cool. So, happy with it overall. I would have liked to have seen... I don't know what I would have liked to have seen. What are some things that I don't... I would like to maybe see an adjustment to Thunder Riders. I think Thunder Riders still might be a little much, because multiple Thunder Riders is still very, very big. To change those, like Braves and Blooded, maybe something a little bit more with them if they want to go more for the dinos, but away from the dinos. So, overall, positive. Curious, let me know if you play this army. Does this do enough for you to kind of pull away a bit more from the dinosaurs? Or is this maybe what you're doing is you're putting in a sign of and chosen of Warband in and maybe popping one thing out, which is, I think, realistically probably the biggest change that's going to occur. If we take a look at some of them, it's a Sign of Death. Can still take like Raptor Riders, stuff like that, so you could still get your Raptors in, going that way if you wanted. Sign of War. Hey, you still get your Warbred in, you get your Drum Beast of Tantor, you still get your Blades of Blooded. So, probably looking at Death is the most appealing one, but we'll see. Overall, good positive change. But again, I don't know if it's enough to alter what you were necessarily doing. But let me know if I'm wrong. If I am, great. All right, let's take a look at Dweghom. All right, so Dweghom are... They even say that, hey, some rules are too oppressive, creating an NP negative player experiences, and other ones just not quite enough. But they try to be careful not to adjust it back the other way. We all know, depending on what you saw, I saw much more Ardent Creed, huge Lethal Demise type lists. I've also played against, the Magma Forged, Fire Forged, maybe Magma Forged as well, but more, Fire Forged, multiple spellcasters slamming into you sort of lists. So I'm interested to see what they do about any of that. All right, for Ardent Creed, it's the same. They just adjusted the way that it looks. They mentioned that they get Pathfinders rather than saying Pathfinders and what that is, so you just get the rule. Herald of War. More of just the bullet points to make it look nicer. Same thing for Paragon War, bullet points to make it look nicer. Living Legend, bullet points to make it look nice. That one isn't even actually altered at all. So overall, no real changes here, at least not that I saw. Okay, important adjustment for Tempered Creed for clarity. So let's take a look at Tempered Creed then and see what they changed. So I just went through and checked, and In this, at least, they removed that 10 power marker cap, but apparently it's in one of the other things, so it is there. Even if it's not here for the moment, that's got to be a thing. There's no way they let that just run wild. It's crazy. All right. Thesis, antithesis, synthesis. My apologies. Really a very important adjustment to overperforming supremacy. Okay, so if they're really adjusting it, then I definitely have to take a look and figure out exactly what it was doing. Where does it? There's it's a supremacy on the tempered steel shaper. All right, let's take a look and see what it actually does different now. It's the non-monster line, isn't it? Yeah. Now monster forged regiments become awakened, healed 2. So you're no longer getting on some of your big boys. And it used to be friendly forged regiment activates. Yeah, non-monster. So removing all the stuff from the monsters. Personally, I wasn't seeing this as a thing, but that was with the list I was going against. But, and you're looking at forged. Although, you know what? It might have been one of the games I played. Because the stone forged, I never even heard it. So it didn't come up. But your monster healing 2 each time, or a 5 pop once. Too much. I agree. That's a useful change. Okay, fire and magma oppressives have been looked at. All right, let's take a look and see maybe how much that was done. So this is for the tempered sorcerer. All right, so free extra spellcast, that's fine. It used to be when you're measuring a line of sight from you can do it from awakened units. And now, when performing spell, friendly tempered characters may measure line of sight up to half the spell's range from friendly awakened units. And each forged regiment can only be selected once per round for the purposes of supremacy. That is the same. What it used to be is you would have your tempered sorcerers, and they would throw out the spells full range from your units. Now lowering this, and you're looking at a lot of them are what, 10-inch range? 10s, and unless you're in school of fire, then you're looking at 12, 14, 16. So you used to be able to just, you'd have some other unit further forward that met these characteristics, and then just toss spells into them. You're not doing that anymore, at least not nearly as far as you used to. So toning it down is useful. One thing I will say, I don't play Dweg, I play against Dweg. So I'm going to also, at the end, try to talk about, if you're a Dweg player, how you might feel about this. Should you necessarily hate if things are tuned down? No. I don't think any player should necessarily hate if things are tuned down. But you have to look at, does it give you good options still? All right, current creed, just clarity. To the end, clarity. So a lot of those are more just the way that they're written or positioned. Small adjustment to Runeforged plate. So we can take a quick look and see exactly what that did. There it is. So, okay, 1 up by 5 points. And you can spend markers from your pool, up to 2 markers from it to gain one of the following effects. Oh, okay. So it's 5 more points, but it's +2 to attack and now +4, where it used to be +1 or +3. So 5 extra points, but if you were taking it before, you love it even more now. I don't know if it's changing that you would take it if you weren't, though. Worldbreaker went up. Yeah, that's fine. Worldbreaker, I have to find it because I don't know all their upgrades. This is one I don't often see. Never have its modified defense, evasion, or resolve reduced below 3. And if the unit awakens, they get the rule as well. Yeah, I wasn't seeing it, but that is super, super good. Depending especially on the meta that you're going into. If people have a lot of high cleave and stuff like that, preventing it, that's fine. Fireforge went down in number of shots. Number attacks. It was weird to me that you're a shooting unit that is pretty reasonably effective in close combat as well. And so if we pull them up, and still defense 3 and resolve 3, so survivable. Okay, now they're not necessarily going to take out that lightish, might be actually light, but that light unit that comes rushing in to stop them from shooting. All right, that's fine to me. Flame Berserkers went down by 5. 10 less points per each. And Aura Death is 2. Keep in mind, Aura Death used to be for the unit, now it's per stand. So if you liked Flame Berserkers, you still love them. And actually, you're going to get more Aura Death. Because it used to be Aura Death flat 4. Now, assuming you get your 3 stands in, now you're actually looking at Aura Death 6. So a little bit cheaper and better overall. And now, losing by that 10 points, and the fact that you can't shatter, maybe now you start taking like a 4 block instead. Yeah, I could see the right to Infernal Automata, how they might have been a little bit struggling, but Flame Berserker is what I saw more often. Hold Warriors, while it's awakened, you get Impact 2. Okay, that's good. If you weren't doing Hold Warriors before, though, is that enough? No. You got Vanguard 3, you got Shields, and you get some impacts. Yeah, cool. Again, if you weren't going to take them, you're not going to suddenly start taking them. That's not altering what you're going to do. That's not necessarily making them that much more attractive. Initiates went down by 10 points, 5 less points to stand. When it's awakened, you get support +1. It used to be, I think, like each time, how was it worded? They used to be able to get more, because they used to actually be able to get it multiple times. Oh no, Initiates didn't have it before. Okay, they just get support +1. Sorry, someone I think used to be able to get more bonuses. Okay. So if you're doing Initiates, hey, they had Phalanx, they had Pike Formation. I saw a lot more Initiates, honestly, because they're very nice defensive stand on an objective unit, because they're very defensive like that. So giving them a little bit extra support, yeah. You awaken them, now they're support 3. Their 4 attacks naturally, support 3 means you're not really missing much. And what you usually do with Initiates is 2 and go far as back as you want. Go sit on the objective. Your opponent isn't nearly as maximized hitting you. They'll get less stands in, especially if they go wider. And you can kind of aim yourself well if you go to the side, turn a bit. It gets hard to get to your flanks if you're careful with it. Or if you need to go a little bit wide, it's fine. But you get almost as many attacks. So, that nice change for Initiates. I like that. Magna Forged went to Aura Death 3. That's fine. What were they before for the Aura Death, now that whole rule is different? They're Aura Death 4, so Aura Death is better. They're now essentially 9 on as 3 stand instead of 4 total. And Herald of Magma went down by 5 points. Cool. Their empowerment is effectively the same. So Magma Forge looking a little bit better. Wasn't seeing ton of them, but especially on a Cleave 2 unit, one regiment of those, I think's pretty good. Warden's a little bit down. Infernal Automata went up, and Aura Death's a flat 2 now. Their other bit is essentially the same. We think points in Aura Death were put in the right place. What was this Aura Death before on them? Their Aura Death flat 4. So Aura Death's maybe a little bit better, but a little bit more expensive. If you're looking at between them and Flame Berserkers, I could see it being a tougher choice. At least Flame Berserkers, now you're saving because of the +10. They used to be 10 points different. Now you're looking at, 25? So now maybe really do look at Flame Berserkers instead. It's letting the two of them compete better against each other. So my hope is that that's useful. Found went down in points. Cool. I only really saw... Was it the Lost I was seeing? Yeah, I only was seeing Lost. I wasn't seeing Found. I haven't seen Found on the board yet. I could make a bad joke, but I'm not going to. Steel Forged went down in attack. Yeah, okay. Let me take a look at Steel Forged. Yeah, Cleave 1, Impact Unstoppable, and they can get extra attacks from their empowerment, so lowering them a little bit is fine. So if you were playing them, yeah, I could see how it hurts a bit. And then they have their spells. Syntax based on spell, address the most problematic spells, remove some strength of the fire and oppressiveness of magma. We now hope Earth is more worth your consideration. Remove markers from the game, including Sorcerer Kings, due to negative player experiences. So you no longer put out markers on the things. Which, yeah, I get why they had a problem with it. We haven't talked about Sorcerer Kings yet. We'll get to them. But I think, at least in terms of Sorcerer Kings, it puts all the more reliance on you need the right types of terrain on the board. Losing it here, I think, obviously hurts the army quite a bit. It probably does make it a good bit more fair in general. But if you're playing this army, yeah, I can see how this hurts. I absolutely agree that it does. Let's take a look at spell differences. So Coruscation, 1 hit per success, and you used to immediately get an extra marker into the pool. You don't get the extra marker anymore. Fireball, 2 inches less on range. Okay, cool. Otherwise, that's the same. Flame Wall is now actually down in attunement. It's down to attunement 3. It was 1 per success, and if you get at least 4, counts as being in hindering, so harder to get to the 4 because you're down in attunement. Okay. Let's take a look at Magma. Sorry, there it is. Eruption is the first one here, but last. Okay, 2 extra inches on that. And this is the piece of zonal terrain that gets to erupt. Hits are on the flank. Pretty much the same. It actually goes a little further. Cool. Pyroclast was 10, now it's 12, so a little bit further. 1 hit per success. Same attunement. Armor piercing 1. And spell. Okay, because what it used to be, it was a erupting piece of zonal terrain or garrison terrain regardless of spell's range. These counts of being inflicted. Okay, because it could target those. Is that the same? Within 6 inches of it, it used to be 5 inches. So longer range, a little bit stronger there. Thought they said they altered magma to make it less. And oppressiveness of magma. So I guess it's just the markers being out is the big thing. Because you used to be able to have markers out and you could go off of the markers. So I guess that's the change. Pyroclast. And that's the last one we had to take a look at for that one. 2 extra inches. So all their spells went to 12. And otherwise, it didn't really look at changed, but you're not doing the hit from markers is essentially the big difference. Because forget exactly what did that. I have to check real fast. That's what it is. My apologies. It took me a little bit to figure it out. When you look at Magma School, their magnetic seep. Hey, you count a terrain as erupting and it loses cover. Cool. They used to be able to put down a marker and anything within 3 counted as erupting. And their spells work off of units in spots or near things that erupt. So you can no longer toss out that marker towards like the middle of where the enemy army is and then be casting your spells past that. So essentially it lets you go full distance and then you were going 3 from that spot and then 5 further so you could really throw your spells very far. So that's really what they've removed. Okay. And then they talked about Earth. They said hopefully it makes it more appealing. Did they actually change Earth at all? Nothing really there. Broken ground. Enemy loses Juggernaut and can't reroll on broken ground. Attunement is down on it. It used to be that they roll 2 dice and pick the lowest, but they would keep Juggernaut. So if they had it, you didn't have to worry about it. Now they lose Juggernaut. They don't get to reroll. And they take wounds. If the regiment fails a charge, it suffers wounds equal to the result of the die determining the charge distance. These wounds do not trigger morales. Okay, so you used to have to pick the lower of the 2, but you got Juggernaut. Now you don't get a reroll, and if you fail the charge, you take some damage. Yeah, Broken Ground's better. Rock Shaping is 1 hit per success, and you get an elemental token. Okay. Pretty much the same. And then we have a few other spells. Actually, oh, my apologies. They have all kinds of spells. I don't know if any of the others changed. I guess I have to take a quick look to see if they actually changed any of those. So Steel Shaper, his Honed Blades. His Honed Blades look the same. Unmake Armor looks the same. Temper Plate looks the same. I believe the other spells are all the same. Fear. Yeah, looks the same. Rancor. Giving Juggernaut, I think, is the same. Ardent target within 8 inches. Yeah, 8-inch range. That's fine. Yeah, it looks like all the other spells are the same. Okay. So, if I am a Dweg... Okay, if I'm a Dweg opponent, I'm happy with the changes overall. As a Dweg opponent, I'm happy with them overall. I still think there's some things that could be problematic, but they want to do some small changes before they alter too much. Cool. If you're a Dweg player, you're still really sectioned off. So for the units that want to work together to get the strongest things that you can, you're looking at, Ardent Creed or the Temperate Creed and so on, stuff like that, or Clan, you're still pretty well divided. So mixed list, you're just not getting quite as much. You're not seeing we looked at Old Dominion. Yes, you're in 3 parts, but we did see where some of them have double dip. They have multiple roles. You're not really seeing that here. So depending on what you're wanting to do, other than like the Lost and Found, but other things, so you're a little siloed off. You're a little pulled to pieces. Others have the same sort of thing. I'm going to be interested to see Old Dominion. Does it pull it apart quite the same? Maybe not, but we also have, with what we have, I feel like there's some good options. Here, I'm just not sure. What I would say is, if you're playing Dweg before, are you necessarily going to change your list? Probably not, except maybe you're taking Earth instead of Magma. Or maybe Fire instead of Magma, but you're probably maybe swapping out the spells. And for anything else, you're looking at spots maybe where you're getting some extra Aura Death, where you have that. Or if you are, here it is. For the Thesis one, hey, it's your non-monsters, so maybe that's causing the change there. So I would say, as an opponent, I like this. If I'm playing as Dweg, they didn't really give me much other than some extra Aura Death in a few spots and cheapening up a few units. Otherwise, I would say most Warlord stuff and everything like that was more of, honestly, almost more of a negative. So it's much more of a nerf than a buff, other than a few small units. Let me know if you're a Dweg player what you think. I could see you being unhappy with this overall. Do I think you should be that unhappy? Probably no. But if you were having issues in your army or your list building or your style, oh, hey, I'm taking, Karawa as my warlord, but I want these other units, but they don't synergize quite well. That hasn't changed. If that was bothering you, that's not different. And the hope is that maybe you didn't lose the things that you were concerned about. But as an opponent, yeah, I think some of the oppression, especially for some of the crazy shooting / spell lists, that needed to change. That was too much. Let's be honest, it really was. So currently probably the losers related to all of this, other than maybe Weaver Courts, who just said you don't get a change. All right, let's keep going. Let's go to an army that I know. Now, I will be honest, when they did the redesign for Sorcerer Kings, I wasn't a fan. Overall, they needed a change. 100% do I agree that they needed a change. It was oppressive. I mean, the Heos list alone, obviously there's some concerns of, okay, were they attacking against, monsters or horses and all that kind of stuff, but the Heos lists were all pretty much identical. It was all fire. It was all sword dancers, flame dancers, swords, ghouls, all of this were identical. So they needed to change. And honestly, too many rituals. Okay, so they altered a lot of that. But I don't know if I like the alterations. Now, part of it is because we're still missing mostly water and earth. When we get those units and we have the rest of it, then thoughts might change. But let's see what they've done. Some rules were too oppressive, created negative player experiences, removed both markers from the game for multiple reasons, and also addressed the birds issues. Maybe it's where I am. Maybe it's because in one store I'm the only Sorcerer King player, and the other stores around us we only have one or two others in each store. I wasn't seeing the super oppression of birds, personally. Maybe they were too crazy. Maybe people were taking multiples and crazy stuff was happening, and I just wasn't seeing it. But, or maybe because I just didn't run a lot of air. Maybe because Steelborn Jin did get improvements in the last one, and I just wasn't running them. So maybe that was the problem. Hey, maybe if I had some Steelborn, maybe then I'm going to run a whole bunch of two airbirds, and maybe now it really does something, but I just don't have those units. So maybe I should at some point, but I just don't have them now. So it wasn't a thing for me. So it wasn't my concern. All right, let's take a look. Elemental Dominion. So this is the Raj's Warlord trait. What it changed? The water changed. That's the only actual change. So it used to be with 3 inches of water marker, you get counted as an obscuring or cover terrain. Hey, what do you get now? Your water regiments. Okay, if you're Court of Water, I should say. Friendly Court of Water elemental regiments charging an enemy regiment in the flank or rear gain terrifying and plus impact. Yeah, that's actually super, super good. Unfortunately, we don't have the units yet. We have one water unit, and I know there's some options to make some others, but when we get the Marid, Lancers, and Lord, much better. Because more impacts and terrifying, great. Other things are exactly the same there. Madarabati, Sardar, still don't take it. The problem is, you're a casting army. You're an army that both wants spells and rituals, which you need spellcasters for rituals. And here's 120 points, now 105 points, that don't help you with that. And, sorry, voice is getting a little dry, that's why I'm having to drink more often. And the other big problem is for what he takes. Honestly, I have to look at what he takes, because I have the army, but I don't use him. And I have him painted, and I really like the paint job I did on him, and he sits there. Yeah. The Sorcerer Saints aren't out yet, so there's a cav unit missing. Takes him a Mahut, but doesn't go on the Mahut. I'd rather my character be on the Mahut. And Rajakur, nothing to write home about. I'd take Rajakur because they were a way to put my characters that weren't getting either on Mahuts or bound to the elements. Initiates I like, and the Nord Disciples I'd rather take with a Sorcerer. There doesn't feel the big push as to why I want him. I still don't think I would play him. Maybe I'll throw him in a list just to say I've done so, but I still don't like him. Sorcerer going up in range, yeah, makes it better for the Denor. I've had many times with the Denor shoot, and this one doesn't, which is weird. Just make it the same range. That's where it goes. All right. Favor to Hormus got some changes. Favor Hormus changed because we used to, Earth and Water used to put out tokens. And the water token would count like a water feature. The earth token, your earth units will get bonuses related to it, all of that. That is no longer a thing. So because of that, they have to make some changes. So I'm pulling up Favor Hormus. Oh yeah, regiments within 3 inches counted as being close to earth marker. So for earth units, that helped. And there was some spells that went off of earth markers. So what it does now, hey, you gain the Rider, lose the Barrage, that's fine, get Terrifying 1, and friendly regiments within 3 inches count as within an earth piece of zonal terrain. And we're going to see that come up later. Spells will care about that now. Whereas, yeah, before it was friendly as well. So rather than being a marker, you're next to zonal terrain. Earth piece of zonal terrain. The Nord disciples lost 2 inches of range, which now means the sorcerer does match. Good. As it should, it does. And cost went down by 10. Yeah, absolutely. I understand why they're lowering range. I'm fine with that overall. Yeah, I would prefer them to have a longer range, but at least you're making them a little bit cheaper. I'd like to see maybe a little bit more points decrease because you're really now limiting their... Losing those 2 inches means that someone's that much closer to getting to me, to charging me, and like other certain shooting units in the game, they will evaporate immediately someone touches them. So, Matrabati initiates went down by 10 points, 10 less points per stand, and the gain Tenacious 1. Yeah, great changes. They needed something. I liked my Maharabati initiates, and because I have 6 stands and I even have an extra box I'm never going to put together, I might give it away at some point. Or actually, no, on Sunday I'm going to give it to someone who I know could use them. I'm going to put them and make sure he gets them. But too much. They're 4 wounds on 2 defense, 2 evade. Someone hits them, they just evaporated. Yeah, they have Cleave 1, they have Line Breaker. The 5 attacks, Clash 3, they had some nice stuff. But if you hit them instead, they're just gone. The Tenacious helps out, and the reducing the cost means I'm more likely now at 30 plus points, I could be 4 stands. Because it used to be 160 for 3, now it's 190 for 4. Maybe now I go to 4 stands. Tenacious will help me out. Gifted Mortals looks to be the same. And gaining that special rule, it's the last part that's extra. So if your Warlord is Fire, Juggernaut, these guys are move 6, so that's 11. That's beautiful. These guys did have a standard. They still do, so if you take something else, that's fine. But that's great. Air for Opportunists, I'm not as excited about. Yeah, that's cool if I get to your flanks. This unit has to be really careful, so I don't necessarily know if this is going to be in the flanks so much. Quarter Water, while within 3 inches of water feature of zonal terrain, it counts as having all it stands within cover. Cool, but okay. Tell me in the comments below, how much water do you guys play with on your tables? We play with pretty much none. We're trying to make sure we vary up terrain more, but even if it's one piece, if I'm running water, other water stuff wants to be in it. These guys are the ones that are going to lose out. So, Earth get regen 2. I don't care as much about that on these because these guys are 4 wounds. I'm going to lose some stands pretty quick. So either, boom, you're taking them right off the board. Or 2, I'm losing enough that I'm breaking and it's not going to help. Maybe if I have a character in there, so the character I'm breaking, then they go the heal to 2. At least on regen 2, I'm more likely to get a stand back because I'm only 4 wounds a pop. But it's probably the Juggernaut of Fire that I'm really liking. So Fire still looking really good. If you have Fire Warlord, I could say taking a 3-pack or maybe 4-pack of these and just rushing them forward, getting them to a good spot, sitting them right at that 11, and then charge into someone. So if they want to come at me, makes it a little bit tough. Additional stands of Roger Kerr went down by 5 points. Who cares? It's not enough. Not enough to make a meaningful change. I'm not taking an extra stand at 5 points less. That wasn't what was stopping me. Windborne Jin went down by 10, and 5 points less to stand. Great. I love Windborne Jin. Even my fire list, I take a unit sometimes too. Save me those 20 points. Hey, those 20 points saved is almost enough for my extra stand of Maharabati. Rid Sahar gained the water elemental special rule. Didn't they have it before? The Sahar? I got two units of these guys. Absolutely love painting them up. They were a lot of fun. Yeah, I had water elemental rule. Oh, because... Oh, I guess because they changed it. Does not take negative effects. Water piece of zonal terrain. Instead of reroll, it's a... Yeah, that's the same. I guess the big thing is because there's no marker, so they don't count from the marker anymore. But otherwise, not different. The Mahut, because Earth is now different. The Mahut used to be able to actually throw out a token. I haven't actually used the Mahut much since they altered this. Yeah, it used to pop out a token within 10 inches of the Earth. The problem was you only ever had one token. And a lot of your rituals cared about the token, so it was really weird of where you place it. So now, do an action. One piece of zonal terrain that this regiment is currently within gains the Earth keyword until the end of the game. And Earth Elemental, hey, when it's within 3 inches of Earth zonal terrain, this regiment gains Untouchable. So is that different? Oh, because it was 3 inches of an earth marker. Before, you had to be next to the marker. Now you just need to be near earth zonal terrain, and he can make terrain earth zonal terrain. Great change. Absolutely great change for that. The boat was already great. Even better. The Rakshasa Baksura, down by 10 points. And +3 to charge if against monster or character. He didn't get both before. The Baksura was just the character one. Correct? Yeah, he was just the character one. So he only got the +3 against characters. Now he's getting +3 against either. Which, great. He's... Oh, and the other one went down by 10 as well. So he went down to 210. This one is at 240. If you liked the Baksura before, or if you're about to one to take, the Baksura now is a very appealing option. Because, yeah, he's the cleave one instead. He's a little bit less, but he does have the more attacks, and he's not losing out on the character part. The Ravarna always has the thing of some armies don't necessarily run monsters. He was the monster one. You don't necessarily always see that. Or brutes. You get at least some bonuses against brutes, but you don't get the extra distance. But when I go against 100 Kingdoms, that's not quite as much. So the Baksura, really good. I like both. I'm going to be honest with you. I like both, and I tend, if I'm running real fire, I run both. Cheravarta Shandavat lost a wound and loses loose formation, so easier to shoot. And it gets Tenacious one against Volley. I think... Yeah, okay, so that's its gain, but you can shoot a little bit easier. And Air Elemental, pretty much the same. He's easier to deal with. Yeah, he's 1 less wound and loose formation is gone, which helps you out quite a bit. Segravate, 20 points less, loses loose formation as well, gets impact, and less evasion. And again, that Tenacious versus shooting. So much easier to deal with because a lot of people complained about this one at Evade 3. I've always been a strong proponent of Evade 3 is not as good as it looks. Honestly, what probably hurts it could have probably stayed Evade 3. Losing loose formation probably did enough. Reason being, for Evade 3, just make me roll dice. Yeah, I technically save half of all the dice I roll. Just make me roll a bunch. Throw a unit into me that they don't worry about cleave and all those other effects that just make me roll tons of dice. I will take a bunch of wounds. And I will take some on the resolve part as well, especially when you get to the flank or something like that. So I understand that it was probably causing some people issues. I can see that. But to me, Evade 3 is not the boogeyman that, at least in the games that I've noticed. Let me know again. Tell me down below if I have the wrong idea, if you've seen it be otherwise. But for me, it wasn't the problem. Evade 3 usually lulls people into that soft fence of security. Cool, you pushed your model up forward. I'm just going to throw a couple units at it, and now it's gone. And that's just a way to push onto you the way that I want. All right, they mentioned a lot of adjustments, so we're going to actually have to take a look at all of these to see exactly what each of them do. All right. This will probably be a bit of pain. Let me pause it and try to look through first. Okay, fire is identical. Air, lifting winds is a bit different. Lifting winds used to be +2 to first march. Hey, now it's unstoppable. Great. That's better. Homing winds used to be reroll, your unit rerolls volley. Now it's reroll 6s. Yeah, it was probably too much, but it was great. What I would say, since it only worked on air units, it was tougher to do because you had to make sure the units were correctly matched. But yeah, too much. That's fine. It's a downgrade, but I get it. Spiteful winds. Spiteful winds used to be, it's more damage than it used to. It used to be 2+ exits where it's the target's defense, but you can go anywhere with it that you want. What they do is now you have to be able to engage with a Court of Air Regiment, but now it's 5+ X. So you get a lot more hits, but you have to actually be touching an air unit. So it's a lot more careful of when you use it. You have to be more careful about when you actually get that done. Okay. Sounds good. Blood to water. Hey, if they don't have a resolve, now you get something. Because blood to water used to just, you added based off of the resolve. Yeah. Equal to the resolve characteristic. If they don't have resolve, get 2 extra. Cool. That's great. So, because we see Old Dominion, obviously, but there's at least a few other units. One in City States, one in Dweghom. Someone else might have one that have dashes. See a little more. Laminar flow is now scaling. Wasn't before. Yeah, to give them aim shot, that's fine, in case you're taking giant units. Well, especially if we're taking a look at the Noor. The Noor I usually took in a 4-pack with my Sorcerer, so now a little bit harder to get that off. Luckily, they marked which ones were different. I was checking through. A lot of them were actually very, very similar. These should be different. Sorry, I pre-checked all the ones. Call forth the deep. Okay, so until the end of the round, you give it water keyword. Only the end of the round, though. Threshold's a 5, so it is cheaper. This used to be, Call Forth the Deep used to be what threw out your water token. And it was a 3-inch bubble of counts as water. And your water units like that, and other units don't, because it lowers their clash by 1. Now you get the water keyword, so it still gets the same thing. Once this ritual has been successfully complete, you may immediately start prepping another water. Water always had that rule. Water, when you're done one, you can start prepping another. It does help a little bit, because it's till the end of the round. But if you're running the right list, you might be able to get this a couple times. At zonal terrain, so your water regiments don't ignore... Actually, your water regiments can ignore hindering with... Sorry, I gotta check it. The Lancers. Tidal Wave. So out of combat action, this action cannot be performed after a march. During the same activation. You perform a charge action ignoring hindering terrain. So if you're using Tidal Wave for the Lancers or the Lord, you could target the hindering terrain, make it water-based. You now get some rerolls, and your opponent's -1 clash. Okay, I like that. Violent Geyser, you have to target a piece of water zonal terrain. 6 hits at AP 1, and target enemy within 3 inches of a piece of water terrain. Hey, 4 hits. So if they're within it, 6 at AP 1. If they're close to it, 4 hits. No AP, but you do get something. Because before they actually had to be in it. So it was a weird rule of you moving around this terrain feature. Okay, that's pretty good. And Soothing Tides. Someone's in water terrain, heal 4. Within 3 inches, heal 2. So you no longer have to actually be in them. We still have the same problem of, at least where I play, we don't play with water much. This is almost a thing of like, when the other units are out, when I'm running to really one waterless, I want a piece of water on the table. Because I want a shot at having my rules. It would be the same thing, or is the same thing in Weaver Courts, because they ignore hindering. That means I want at least some hindering out there. I want to feel that I have a rule, I get a bonus, give me the chance to have my bonus. Yes, I can use Call Forth the Deep to get it. But it doesn't necessarily feel great that I kind of have to ensure that I'm using that constantly to get these other effects. So it's sort of a side grade, honestly. I don't think it makes it better. Unless you can get off Call Forth the Deep, since it is one easier, if you can get that off much more often, or you already got some water terrain on your board. So, I don't know. I don't mind it, but I wouldn't necessarily say that it feels better. Alright, so let's go through for Earth. Stabilize is just self. It used to be 12 inches. Oh. So, yeah, that's much worse. So much worse. Used to be able to tell someone else, because what you would do is you'd have it behind you, throw it to the unit in front. They get to ignore our death and decay and all of that. Now it's just on yourself, so much worse spell. Not a small adjustment, huge adjustment. I don't care what he says. Whereas the next one is Gift of the Earth. So Gift of the Earth was what used to throw out your token, right? Yeah, Gift of the Earth, put out your marker, and when you're near it, you got regen. So now you pick something till the end of the round. We saw the Mahut can make it till... Mahut was end of round or end of battle? I think Mahut was end... I said end of battle, but was that correct? Oh god, we have so many spells. It takes a while to get to them. Where was it? Favorite of Hormus. No, so that's not it. No, it's the actual Mahut change. There it is. End of the game. So he puts it till the end of the game. So if you're taking Earthless, you should be taking Mahut anyway, but now even more so. Okay. So, there we go. Gift of the Earth. It loses all keywords that set them passable, elevated, traversable. So you remove hindering from it. Interesting. If I'm standing and want to charge out, better. Gains Earth keyword. And friendly Earth regiments within 3 inches get inspired. So they don't get to heal. They used to get regen too. Terrain size is not affected by this. Okay. Giving them inspired is interesting, although they might be trying to charge off. Don't know. But again, it's till the end of the round, so you really have to be careful with the way you time this. Earthquake, till the end of the round, you give something, target just wherever, give it Earth keyword, and Edgeman currently within this piece's own terrain cannot perform a rally or combat rally action. In addition, they can't heal and take a wound for each stand within this zonal terrain. No morale. Okay, Earthquake used to be 6 hits and can't heal, or within 3, and then you got to move the marker. So now you pick it, you can pick the terrain that they're on, you give it Earth, which your units care about Earth keyword. A lot of them aren't out yet, but your Eidolons and all of that. Earth Elemental, within 3 inches, it was Earth marker, but now it's essentially Earth terrain feature. You'll notice they didn't talk about them. They didn't talk about them because they're not out yet. Yeah, it's within 3 inches untouchable. So you give them more options to get untouchable. Useful. And those ones actually have ways to get some healing on them as well. Your healing options are down a little bit in this, but that's okay. And then Kiss of the Earth, threshold's now at 6. I think the threshold was a 7 before. So I have to check that real fast. I'm pretty sure it was a 7. Yeah, it was a 7. Oh, this was the weird one. This one was just bad. You choose a non-monster regiment that's 2 or less stands, you destroy it, and then they become some terrain themselves. They become a piece of like zonal terrain. Now you target an enemy and they get -2 to their march during its first march or charge action. If all I'm playing is Earth, sure. But I'm probably going with the other ones potentially more often, especially Earthquake. But at least now you would do Kiss of the Earth. The other time before, you had to destroy your own units to do it. Why would you ever want to do that? I never saw much of a purpose. So, for Sorcerer Kings, I would say they made the Raj a more attractive, potentially more attractive warlord with that small change, although I'm still taking Maharaj, always. The Sidar, I still don't care. Sorcerer more in line, favorite or Hormus works better. The Norb, that's fine. The Initiates, big improvement. Big improvement. I liked taking a unit before, I'm still going to like it now. Windborn, hey, save me points, great. The Sahar, nice. What they got was good. The Rakshasas, both a bit better. Not a huge difference, and the birds obviously worse. So if you're running like a crazy double bird list, you probably don't like it quite as much now. But again, I don't necessarily think the evade was so much of the issue, but losing the loose formation is probably the bigger thing. Getting a little bit tenacious versus it doesn't make up the difference. And spells work better. So we're still waiting on getting earth stuff. Fire, still great. Air, good. Water will feel really nice, I think, when the units are out. I think the water effects, but again, please just put 1 water terrain feature on your board, and then let me do some spells for it. Earth I really liked. Not having having to pick the terrain features, I have to see how that goes. The water, I think, is you have to kind of see as well. Because I will say, though, I played it with the token. The tokens were tough, because you only had certain spells that moved it. But all you had to do was pop the token once, and then you use the spell that did damage and move them. or healed and moved them or whatever the different spells had done. So this feels a little bit tougher to get the rituals to get you the effects that you want. I would say overall, I'm pretty neutral on this one. The birds are down. The markers going away makes it a little bit tougher, but the other units got a couple of the other units got some buffs. I don't think anyone else needed much of a change. The changes they already made, the fire weakened it enough, I think. Maharaj is probably still best warlord, though. So, side grade at best. All right, that handles them, and I think it leaves us just with Nords. All right, last but not least is Nords. So they mention here that similar to Old Dominion, archetypes were only option to successfully play with this army. So you kind of, had to take particular lists. I do think there's maybe a little bit more than what they said, but I understand what they're saying. Say, Maury, I don't think they were that great then. So they're hoping the Supremacy will open up a lot. All right, they did get some changes to overall army rules. Ice, Flesh, and Blood, yeah, you can just be inspired when charging through the hindering terrain. You'll notice what it used to, certainly pull it up. Yeah, the no more half damage was the big thing. So that's fine. Prophecy, Unfulfilled. The +2 to the charge, they no longer remove the monsters part. It used to be the Konagir had a way, if he was your warlord, he let the monsters have it. But now they removed it so everyone can get it. And hey, it does stack with the Take the Flanks tribal tactic. You'll notice Blood of the Ainyar is gone. Also gone, so the +1 stand on your command when charging, and when charging +1 resolve. Both of those are gone. Tribal tactics is much, much more interesting now. Tribal tactics, okay, there were some ways, depending on your characters and rules, to get it on some other stuff. But, I know, Bo chose, and certain Exalted had the way to get the tribal tactics if other people had it as well. But essentially, tribal tactics now, hey, if your mortal's Exalted, you have these rules. They don't stack. They do say naturally that once per game that you get one of these. We're going to see there's ways to get them more, but once per game, hey, either Relentless Blows, Tenacious +1, and Take the Flanks before rolling a die. You can just say that you had rolled a 4 if you're in the flank or the rear. And if you are charging that flank or rear, you also get Fury, so you get the extra attack. And upon declaring a Valley action, friendly regiments immediately gain Opportunist. So getting to the flanks did more. The rules did some different things before. One of them meant you count as heavy for taking out objectives and a few other things. But overall, good. Better with what they do. The Konagir getting Ruler of Mannheim. Hey, you get the activated part of the tribal tactics every Supremacy. He used to give, one of his main things was give what Prophecy Unfulfilled now does. He gave some other stuff as well, but you just can't use the same one twice. So just alternate which one you're doing. When you are trying to get in, Relentless Blows, trying to survive, Tenacious, and at the right time, if you have some nice flank charges because someone's come into you, use the last one. And hey, activated, so once per game, everyone gets the tribal tactics, no matter what it is. Especially great for some of your Jotuns and Jotnar and stuff like that. All right, Driven by Carnage. So this is now for the Jarl. Oh, sorry, no, Blooded. My apologies, for the Blooded. Jarl we'll see in a moment. So instead of getting an extra half-blood unit in, hey, they get to heal by destroying stands. And you get, if the regiment the character's in destroys an enemy regiment in close combat, clash for a charge, but close combat, hey, you get a free reform. And activated, after a friendly blood unit regiment destroys one of our enemy units with a clash action or an impact, and form it out of sequence so they can get the same thing he does, and you double the healing. Much better. Much, much, much stronger. They are, again, much like we talked about Dweghom, they're sort of siloing off, and this build them in as well, of what you're looking at. If you're taking this guy, you want as much half-blood units as you can take, but you can still mix and match. Raid tactics. So, for raid tactics, this is for the Jarl then. You can use the activated part of the trouble taxes 3 times during the game, but you must select a different one each time. So rather than having each time, you at least get it 3 times. Mortal Exalted get +1 to reinforcement rolls, so easier to get your army in faster. And you can't be shattered. You're mortal and exalted. Again, you could still mix in a little bit. If you want to mix in some other things, probably the Konagir is better, but still not bad. Scaffold. You ignore water, hindering, perilous, and all of that. You can use the activated part of the supremacy twice per gain to gain one of its effect. You cannot use the same effect twice. Okay, so you can barrage all regiments barrage range is reduced by half. So this is on. Sorry, you don't see him much anymore. The shaman. So reduced by half. He used to like just shut you down when he died. Haggard. Target 1 enemy regiment on the battlefield. Takes 5 wounds. Cannot be reduced or avoided. No morale. Can't choose anyone twice. So just do 5 auto wounds to someone. And all enemy regiments reduce their march characters by -1. It cannot reroll dice when determined charge distances. Ooh, okay. So he's a much better looking warlord. I haven't seen him as a warlord for super long time. He gave +1 to. He had the same thing that the Lolo did, which was +1 to evade up to a max of 2, and could cast spells onto objectives. I think it was. We're going to see her divine protection is different. That evade. But hey, activated once per round, you can just cast spells no matter where. Self aren't affected though. Wild Beast, so the Vargar Lord. Friendly half-blood regiments may perform impact attacks when charging through or being within piece of hindering, which is great because you're taking a look. Sorry, I gotta check one thing for what I think is half-blood. Obviously, where wargs are. Yeah, gold tier course and Fenrir, so you don't care about terrain anymore. You'll get your impacts and you'll get your inspire because you got your inspire from the main army rule. And activated, you can give them shock or fury. For the turn, if you're going with multiple gold tier, I mean, they talked about gold tier being great. This makes them better. For what he used to do before, call the hunt. Oh yeah, that was 1 extra unit. Who cares? Bring 2 units of gold tier, give them shock on the right turn. That's great. They're going to do awesome. All right, blooded, down 10 points. Better volley, lost forward force, so your army isn't coming as reliably as it used to. That's one of the big changes here. Slain bigger. Slain bigger means if you're dueling something that's monster size or monster character on a monster mount, that you get fearless and +3 evade. So essentially you're going to a max of 3, so you're going to evade 3. Gets Ulfidnar and Berserks. Cool. And this character may be attached to any half-blood regiment, regardless of its class. I think I'm pretty sure what he had before. Jarl gets that slain bigger thing. Seizing a new future. Okay, so this is on the Cider. It's the rule he had before, although they have updated it. So if we pull him up, his seasons in the future, this was the fearless near objectives, and can't be counted as less stands. So with objectives, can't be less stands, so all that's the same, but the crushing avalanche is new. Friendly Jotun regiments that charge within 12 at the time of him get brutal impact +1, impact +2. So I've seen some all Jotun lists. Nice little change for them. Konagir loses a volley, gets a slain bigger. Cool. Can't have more than 1 Konagir. That was true for quite a while now. Shaman gets some more options. Vargar Lord gets a little cheaper, loses a wound, which is fine. Your wounds aren't really going to matter in terms of duels, and not worried about that. Loses forward force. Okay, you're much less reliable getting your army in at the same sort of time that it used to be. Lost Feral Hunters. Feral Hunters gave your werewolves that were in his warband flurry, but werewolves just have flurry now. So no real change. Gains a slain bigger, gets some trolls, and gets that bestial de-evolution. And again, can be attached to friendly half-blood regiments. The fact you're getting trolls means you could actually attach them to trolls. I'd probably still put them on werewolves, but you got options now. And the Volva got Ulfenar. So Ulfenar were available. Who actually took Ulfenar before? I'm curious. Blooded didn't. Jarls took him as main. I know that one didn't. Konagir didn't take it. Was that the only spot? Yeah. Actually, yes. It was just Jarls. Okay, so more people take Ulfenar. Okay. For all the various upgrades, we're going to talk about them, but I'm not going to go through quite as much. One, just been doing this for a while, but we'll kind of go through these a little bit quicker. I'll be honest, only some of these have I seen used more recently. Okay, like a figurehead going from Tenacious 2 to 2 from 3. Yes, Tenacious 3, that's oppressive. Hey, Heralds of the Storm went down by 20 points and got more range. That one is worth taking a look at, because that is a huge, huge difference. So it would be all regiments within 10 inches then, counts 3 more stands for scaling. You could actually take it now. At 30 points, you would never take that. It's too much. 10 points? Yeah, I can throw 10 points in. Raven Messengers went down by a lot too. Oh, okay. So it used to be while the regiment this character sent is not broken, within 12 they can use his resolve. Now it's for 10 points. Hey, if at least one of your regiments is engaged. So if I'm on someone, automatic reinforcement pass. I don't like this one. Here's the reason I don't like this one. Okay, it's harder for you to get stuff in, but to actually get into combat, unless your opponent is rushing across the board, you're probably realistically not getting into combat until probably turn 3. Maybe 2 if they're pushing forward, but even if they're not, you're probably not engaged. So you're looking at turn 3. So this probably isn't helping until turn 4. It's definitely not helping you turn 2. Maybe turn 3, probably turn 4. And I guess turn 5 as well. But by that point, you probably have all your stuff anyway, or you have almost your stuff. So cheaper, I still wouldn't bother. Again, let me know if you think I'm wrong. Cultist Charm. It's a new treasure for Shamans and Jarls. You get the Bloody Sacrifice. So take 2 wounds, no morale, and hey, +1 the march. We saw that before. We saw that on I think it was Chosen of Death. Points increase for the armor. I gotta take a look at that one. Gave you Tenacious +1. And now instead it gives you Hardened 1. Expensive, but worth it. Not to me so much. Maybe, but I find in general you're often, I don't know, maybe certain units, but a lot of these units, you're getting to their evades. I mean, some no. It's not always that they're better, but a lot of them you are, or your evade is only 1 difference. So I'm not necessarily sold on that. I don't know if that had to go up. I think it could have stayed where it was. Mark of the Beast, 5 points. They get the Half-Blood's Field roll. Definitely useful for if you're taking a warlord that cares about Half-Blood units, because that gets you 1 extra. So if you're looking at werewolves and Jarls and things, Blooded. 10 points down for Vinda the Dancer. So weapon. I have to take a look because I don't actually know at the top of my head what that weapon does. Every 2 hits. Oh, every 2 hits is the 1 extra. That's what it was. It's that one. That's fine. They get a new weapon. Rudis the Bloodthirster. When performing a clash or duel before the roll to hit step, this character may suffer up to 3 wounds and add that many to attack's characteristic. You cannot suffer wounds that would destroy you, and you can't deny duels. Because your characters in general are not quite as killy as they used to be, you can take 2 Trophines. I mean, a Konagir could take 2. So you could take that with, I don't know, maybe something else, but can't refuse duels. Duels don't happen nearly as much. So anything that goes towards duels, I'm not so sure how much I love it. It used to be you would take usually a Blooded with some upgrades on it, and he would just go ham. He would die, but he would take out whatever character he's going against. I don't think that's necessarily a thing as much. He always cleave 2 at least. So maybe he takes it and you just go out there and try to duel people. But I said it's somewhat easy for them to say no. Eldin Skypiercer, 30 points. You gain Sure Shot in the unit. Nice. Blooded Jarl or Conquest only. And the character gets Barrage 5, Range X. Rex is the range of the unit that's in. So, hey, say a unit bow chosen, something like that, you get nice 5 shots. And they have Sure Shot at all times. So, depending on what you're taking, yeah, I could see this. Maybe a little bit expensive, but depending on what you're doing. And we saw, what was it, for the Jarl, was it? Oh, Conquest, that's what it was. Conquest went down, but Blooded went up. Okay. If you like taking shooting units, not a bad way to go. I'm not super sold on it because 30 points is expensive, but still. Lesson the Jotun War went down to 10 points. It gains a tribal tactic. Great. The fact that it's a lot cheaper means you actually might do it. You, once per battle at the beginning of the character's activation, you would get a tribal tactic of your choice. So you only get it for 1 round now, rather than the whole battle, but it is a lot cheaper. If you're running that Mortals Exalted list, Konagir Warlord, I could see taking the 10 points to guarantee whichever unit you're in, or maybe even his unit, get it again, kind of thing. Get one of the other ones, I should say. The Shaman gets Jotun Shepherd. Friendly Jotun within 12 get Indomitable +2. Awesome. That's actually really good. For 5 points, if you're taking a Shaman and taking Jotuns, take them. Take that every day. If you're taking those because extra survivability is what you want for them. Cautious Strike, Konagir Jarl. When a friendly Exalted Regiment fails a charge, it may move up to its march character instead of its roll result. No, I don't care. I get how it gets me closer, but that doesn't probably help me overall, because then you're more likely to charge me, especially if it was, oh, I went for this charge early, and if I move further, now you're going to get a much easier charge on me. I'd rather, if I fail, stay further back. Oh, excuse me. Call the Hunt. Half-Blood Warlords only. So we did see that there was a way to make some other people half-bloods, but otherwise you're looking at Blooded or Vargar Lords. When selecting a regiment to arrive from reinforcement automatically this round, choose 1 additional half-blood regiment. So there's your 30 point if you want your old warlord trait that used to give this to you. So if you're worried about your army piecemealing in, here's a way to fix it. This is an army that kind of does need to hit in a wave, and often kind of early before you establish. So I could legitimately see you taking that. Pack Tactics Vargar Lord. It's down to 10 points. And when they get a clash against an enemy monster regiment, can't support X. Equal to, so everyone gets to swing against the monster. You know, the fact that it went down to 10 points, I could see you taking that. Your Vargar Lord, if he's in, say, a 3-pack of Werewargs, you're running wide. You're not going to hit the monster in a way where everyone gets a swing. Now everyone does. Or, since you're also caring about impact, stuff like that, maybe if you're going to go monster hunting. Okay, hey, I know against the list that has 2 monsters. Then I'm going 2x2. That way I can rush in and... it's when a friendly regiment. So either Cav or Brute, half-blood, so any of them would do it. I could run, say, 2x2, hit them, and get all my swings against the monster, and I'm less wide, so that way then you can't, your opponent is much harder to get the charge onto you, because you're not really covering too far. Vicious Assault. So actually, I think that's a great upgrade. If I was saying Vargar Lord, I would take that, because monsters are pretty common. If it turns out your meta has no monsters, sure, but a lot of metas have a couple monsters. That really helps out. It makes you much less susceptible to damage. Vicious Assault. The regiment this character is currently attached to gains Fury. +1 attack. Who doesn't love that on a charge? If I happen to have some spare points, sure. But otherwise, there's other ones I like more. Written in Bones is now 5 points. They can't be shattered. Yeah, for 5 points. Yes. If I have an upgrade slot, I have nothing left to do. I've built plenty of lists where I got a spare 5. Great thing for 5 points. Like I said, same thing. Oh, do you have a shaman? Hey, 5 points. That's his new cost to me. Unless there's something else you really want. We got Promise of Flesh. 10 points. Half-Blood Regiments this character is currently attached to gain Vanguard 3. Okay. I could see you taking it, but it doesn't excite me super crazy, but I could see you wanting to do it. Bear Sharks went down by 10. Additional stands are now 15 cheaper. Your resolve is now a 5 up, so they increase them to get rage. And Savage and the other things went down. So remember, rage is if you're below your starting strength. I think right now they're leaning it with it. They get +1 to clash and attacks. So they're really trying to push some Bear Sharks to make them better. You're going to take some wounds, but you're less likely to take resolve damage. If you liked Bear Sharks before, I think you're going to like them. Although, as I say, it's no longer march, charge, and attack, because they used to get a free charge. So you're not going nearly as far, but when you get in, you are going to be hitting harder. A fair enough trade. The 3 action thing is something they're getting away from, and I agree with that. Bow Chosen going down, lose War Brethren. They don't need it. War Brethren was the one that gave them the tribal tactics, but they're exalted. If you take someone for tribal tactics, you're going to get it anyway. I thought Bow Chosen was great at 190, so 180, sure. I know there's a lot of people say Bow Chosen are great. I think Bow Chosen are really good. Squirrel's got Bastion. And the Thane went up. What does the Thane? Actually, I should probably look in the rule thing to check the Thane. So it's House Coral, as it said. Just to see if he's different. Before the first reinforcement phase, choose a single tribal tactic. The regiment's always in their effect. So that's what the Thane does. You're getting Bastion. I don't know if I want to spend extra 25 points for that. But if I'm not taking tribal tactic-based stuff, maybe. Captain went down. He should go down. He doesn't do nearly what he used to. And Shieldbiter went down as well. Cool. Stalkers get Pathfinder. Steel Chosen, lose War Brethren. Makes sense. They get the Thane, so you can give them one of those bonuses, and Shieldbiter went down. Shieldbiter. I have to check what Shieldbiter does, because I don't know in this one what Shieldbiter does now. 5 points for dive fighting. If you have a spare 5, sure, because you're 6 attacks on 3s with Linebreaker and Flurry. But Thane's a pretty decent option there, because you could give them... Oh, we have to scroll up because these are all new, so I got to get used to these. Where is it? There it is. Give them Tenacious. That's not bad. 20 points for ignoring 1 damage at all times. Yeah. Or the auto charge isn't bad. Less blows is actually pretty good. Especially with the fact that you get some rerolls, so you're more likely to get more 1s. And you're actually probably statistically likely to get more hits than you swing. So, yeah. We talked about that. Talked about Stalkers, Steel Chosen, Trolls, gain Dread. Because the Blooded doesn't give the Dread anymore. Yeah. I always think Trolls are good, but you need Trolls in bigger packs than 3. You really need Trolls in like packs of, honestly, probably like 4 maybe, but no, really like 5s. Because you need to make sure you get your heals. Ultimate Gnar. Tons of people get Ultimate Gnar, which means they had better be better. 20 points less, so an appreciable difference of points. 15 points less than extra stand. More resolve. Loss in attack. Lethal Demise went down by 1. And if you're joined by a Shaman, they gain Bodyguard. Savage is cheaper. Shieldbiter is cheaper as well. I'm still not super sold on them, but at least if you own them, or you want to, if you like them and you want to play them, they're much easier to get into your list now. Putting them with the shaman isn't necessarily bad. I just don't know if they quite do enough. When we pull these guys up. Oh, they have the tenacious, that's nice, but they're only 4 wounds. And their defense is pretty garbage. They'll get in, but they don't really survive by much. The dive fighting, much less useful for here because you don't really swing that hard. No. Realistically, I don't know if I feel like you get enough out of it. The points decrease at least does make them competitive with some other things, but I'm not sure if I like it enough. Alright, Ogres gain Unstoppable. Awesome. They lose Shock. That hurts. But they get Savage Retaliation when this... Oh, yeah. When this regiment is charged in its front arc and not within hindering, and with at least half its stands, it gets its impact attacks against the enemy. When someone charges them, effectively, it's like they charge the outside. So as long as they would get impacts that they charged, they get impacts against you. And then, it said, hey, even if they don't get impacts, you do. Losing Shock hurts, but that means this unit is much more about potentially getting hit, taking the thing, because remember, they're oblivious and all, and taking some punishment. And then later, I think, charging into people, or charge into that. What sometimes people do is they'll stack up units, of course. So you charge into the lightest unit, you knock it out, or almost knock it out, and then they hit you with their heavy hitters. Well, now at least I get some damage on them first. Or simultaneously. Is it first? Simultaneously. But maybe I take a stand out before you swing at me. Love that change for them. Werewolves get Flare, like we said. The Vargar Lord lost it, so they get it now. Fenrir Beast Pack defense increased to 2, and lost an attack. Yeah. Like I said, the other Nord effects probably help them. The Half-Blood rules really help a lot, so reducing them attack, yes. Gold tier, 5 points, not enough. Gold tier probably needs to go up at least 10, probably 15, I think. Ice Shipyard down by 10, gets Unstoppable. Love when monsters have Unstoppable. Always feel bad when you got a big monster and you roll a die and you need like a 3 and you roll 2. Mount Yartnar gets Better Volley because he gets Hurl It. So when you perform a charge and fails, it immediately performs an out-of-sequence volley action with Barrage 1 and Aim Shot. So essentially on 3s against a target, counts as being in range, but the Mountain Yarn does not count as being with effective range for the person's action. So you can reach them, but you're never effective. Set a roll for defense. The enemy takes X wounds, where X is the target regiment's unmodified size. No morale test. So it's the trebuchet shot, but he chucks the rock instead. That is... Sorry, where is... Did I mess up? Where's he? Ah, there it is. So he gets the hurl. He has the hardened 1. He's got his terrifying, but he doesn't have the unstoppable. So hey, you know what? If he misses, he gets something cool. I'm pro for that. I think that's awesome. Everyone who has this army has a mountain or hanging around. He gets a cool rule. He gets to still do some damage even if he fails. Captains. The regiment can use the result character as a friendly character with an 18, as if it was attached to this regiment. So the regiment may use the characters within. They get Vanguard 4, and you can make them medium. Alright, so captains are not as good as they were to start with, because they could make scoring lights. They're better than they just were. I still don't know, but they're definitely better. Savage, you get an additional class action during its activation. The regiment may perform an additional class action during its activation. Okay. Who takes a Savage? That's the question. So Bear Sarks. So they talked about not getting the extra thing, but you can get the perform an additional class action. So if you're already in combat, you can swing twice. On Bear Sharks, yeah, why wouldn't I take that? That's great. what is now I can't think about it. What does Savage do before? Because he absolutely didn't do that. I don't think. No, oh no, sorry, he did a free additional charge. That's what it was. You got an extra charge. Now you get extra clash. Take Savages. Bear Sharks with Savages. Great. Scald +1 to the character resolve and bravery. Shield Biter, we already talked about what that did. Thane, we talked about that. And the spells. It says syntax. They're not denoting differences, so I'm going to assume spells hadn't changed. I'm hoping they didn't make a small change that they didn't denote. If you're playing Nords, I think you're really happy. If I was going to play Nords, I'm loving this update for them. I think for at least the moment. Okay, they lost a bit in the army rule. That +1 resolve, I saw a lot of people forget that. The +1 for scoring stance hurts, losing that. Because now 3v3, I'm not necessarily taking it anymore. But everything else, I think, is good. I didn't see any. Okay, there were some upgrades. I'm like, I don't really care about it. But there was nothing where, even on those, I could see you could make an argument. I would say for the moment, they're a pretty big winner from these updates. I think they got a lot of alterations, got a lot of new equipment, and nothing went up. Ulfitnar, I still don't think I care so much about. Like, Ogres changed what they do probably a little bit, or what you might be thinking for them. Werewolves just having base flurry, awesome. Gold tier went up, but 5 points is nothing. You've saved 5 points in other spots. If you were taking 2 packs of gold tier, you still are. So, yeah, everything is an improvement. I'm guessing they thought they were underperforming. I don't know if I would say that they were, but again, it could be in your particular demographics areas and the people who play them. So, great. And I think, yeah, you want, again, they portion them out. And depending on what you want to run, you can intermix. But if you want to run certain styles, you can absolutely run those styles. And I think you're going to get some good results. You want to run Mortals and Exalted. Hey, Koeniger Warlord, you're going to love it. You know, you want to run more Half-Bloods and stuff like that. You can take a Blooded, Vargo Lord, either of them, you're going to like it. So, honestly, really good for them. All right, well, that goes through all the factions. Now, I'm sure over the next, say, about week or so, we're going to see some potential small changes. We're going to see some stuff talked about that I missed, which is fine. So what's going to happen in about a week? I'm going to do a video kind of discussing the big winners and losers from all this, but I'm going to give a little bit of time. First, one, I want to make sure they don't correct it. And two, I want to try to get some games in, or at least have some people get some games in, talk to some other players who play these armies more and see, hey, what did they think now that they either tried it or really read through it or really got back to look at it again. So, overall, I would say I think the changes are positive for the game. There's a few of them where I don't think they did quite enough for the armies, and a few where maybe they did a little too much, but they do small incremental changes, which I appreciate. There's nothing where I look at it and say, oh no, what have they done? Oh no, this change means this is all we're going to see. I don't see anything other than maybe a little bit of the Nord stuff where I would say, with what you've done, I'm going to take 3 of that unit and then I will build the rest of my list. So, but as always, let me know in the notes in the comments below what you think. Do you like the changes? Are you enjoying what you see? And once you start getting games in, hey, how is it going? Do you like what has happened? Is there any particular problems that you're seeing? And are you happy or unhappy with your particular army? All right, this video was far too long. You're going to see this come out on a Tuesday, and you can, put this on while you're doing whatever it is you're doing, maybe hobbying on some stuff. I need to do that because these guys are hanging out over here for me to paint through the next project. Haven't assembled them yet. I'm probably going to do that, I don't know, another day or two. I don't feel like it right now. It's midnight. I don't know what I'm going to do, but I'm not going to do that right now. All right, for other things that you're going to see pretty soon, as a discussion of this, I'm going to play at least an Old Dominion game this weekend, so I want to talk about that and the changes again, and discuss. I'm going to do a video related to different warlords, and the list that I build out of them to try to highlight their good and bad, and things for some other games potentially as well. I just need some time to work on those. We've actually been doing a lot of the Gundam TCG. So I'm still trying to get my first game Warcrow in, and the Gundam Assemble, that miniatures thing. I'm going to be starting to print some stuff. I want to paint some things, and we know enough of the rules. We know the rules. They've been out long enough that we can play it, although it doesn't drop till October. So I'd like to actually give that a shot. So I'm hoping the next couple weeks to actually test that out. I know some stores that have a little setup to try it out. So, and more StarCraft. Right now we're waiting on things, but I'm going to do some pre-orders for that, and once it's out, going to get some more games into that and see what we think. All right, well, on behalf of everyone at the show, then had some good hobbying. It's a great gaming.